Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm sitting here drinking my crime soda. Actually, I have some bad news. It's actually not cranberry lime, it's actually like raspberry lime. You know what? Mandela effect, whatever. I'm still gonna call it my crime soda. It's too good to not be. Today, we're gonna talk about psychology a little bit. Like I briefly mentioned in my last video, I'm gonna be covering Ed Gein. Now, I feel like everyone and their mom knows about Ed Gein, but actually, my mom reviews my scripts, and she said she wanted a quick little recap on Ed Gein. Some crimes that he did commit are necrophilia, grave robbing. I believe he did 1 or 2 murders. However, if you do want a more in-depth recap of Ed Gein, I highly recommend Haley Elizabeth's video. I love her. She did a great job on that. But what I'm going to be discussing today is why— you know what? I hate this. Move, please. You're covering my face. Anyway, what I'm going to be covering today is why Ed Gein. Why Ed Gein did what he did, as in the psychological and mental processes behind his crimes. Now, without further ado, let's get right into this case. And just like last time, I'm going to be doing my makeup while I do it. Oh my god, I just got makeup on my pillow. Edward Theodore Gein was born on August 27th of 1906, making him a Virgo. No hate to my Virgo besties. Ed grew up in La Crosse County, Wisconsin, with his brother Henry, his mother Augusta, and his father George. Ed and Henry had an extremely difficult childhood. Their mother constantly preached— I'm sorry, my gerbils are being really annoying right now. Augusta preached the Bible constantly. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, it's just the way that she approached it was kind of harmful. She punished her children for making friends and constantly confined them to their houses, preventing them from having a social life. Doing makeup and talking is really hard. I don't know how these YouTubers do it, man. I'm trying. Their father George was an alcoholic and often found a hard time keeping a job. Even after all of this, trauma still continued throughout Ed's life. The first major death that Ed— okay. I'm sorry. The first major death in Ed's family that occurred was the death of his father by heart failure due to his alcoholism in 1940. Since George was the man of the household, that left Henry and Ed to be the men of the household, which means they had to pick up odd jobs throughout town to support themselves. Both worked as handymen, and Ed sometimes worked as a babysitter. At this point, Henry, Ed's brother, saw the faults in his mother and tried to express this to Ed, but whenever he tried to say like, hey, maybe our mother is a bad person, Ed would get really offended by this because he still didn't see the faults in his mother. So he got really offended by this, which probably led to Henry's death. In May of 1944, Ed Gein called the police to report that his brother was missing. However, when police arrived, he was able to lead police directly to his body, which is kind of funny. Ed stated that Henry died in a fire that got out of control. However, after police investigation, they uncovered that Henry had a series of bruises on his head, which probably concluded that he died of other causes. But they did not have enough evidence to prove that Ed did it, although, I mean, come on. It's common sense at that point. But they still did not have enough evidence to prove that Ed was guilty, so they let him off those charges. That left Ed and his mother alone in their house, but not for long, because Ed's mother died of a stroke in 1945. After all of these deaths, Ed was alone in his house, and since he loved his mother so much and he missed her so much, he preserved all of the rooms that she used and only used one bedroom and the kitchen for himself. During this time, Ed became invested in cult magazines and Nazi cannibalism stories, which I didn't know existed. I might look into that as well. But obviously he kept these interests to himself. Now that covers all the backstory of the crimes that he committed. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to go into detail about what he did, but instead I'm going to talk about the psychological issues that Ed faced and why these might have caused him to do the crimes that he did. The The first mental illness that Ed Gein was diagnosed with was schizophrenia. The definition of schizophrenia is a disorder that affects a person's ability to think, feel, and behave clearly. Schizophrenia is a combination of both environmental and genetic factors, and because of the way that Ed's mother treated him, we can assume that some of this can be genetic, but also, obviously, since he encountered so much trauma during his life, those environmental factors could have played a part in it. So I'm gonna say that both were a part of it. Why did I pause? Ed's schizophrenia prevented him from standing trial in court, which means that he pled not guilty for reason of insanity. So instead of going to jail, Ed went to the Central State Hospital for the rest of his life. Oh my god. Look what I just did. I hope this stuff isn't bad for my eye. Ed was also diagnosed as a sexual psychopath. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into those reasons. The diagnosis was given to him because Ed got excited by the corpses. However, Ed denies having ever had any relations to the victims. This doesn't count as a mental disorder by any means, but I'd like to mention that one of Ed's main motivations for his crimes was the fact that he wanted to be a woman. I speculate that Ed did what he did because of dysmorphia or dysphoria. Now, obviously, I don't want to dismiss Ed of his crimes, but I do believe that his family and people around him could have prevented this by looking a little bit more into his family history and helping him with these problems instead of just kind of ignoring the red flags that they got from him. Then again, this case was taking place during the 1950s when mental health wasn't even considered when raising a child. We can use Ed and his crimes as an example of what not to do when raising a child, and I can only hope that mothers during the 50s treated their children a little bit better in response to what they saw from Ed Gein. And with that, the case is closed. I'm still not done with my makeup, so I'm gonna finish real quick. I'm done! And here I have a Reese baby with me. Oh my god, I love her. She is my first guinea pig. Oh my god, she's so cute! I love her. Anyway, and with that, the case is closed. I hope you all enjoyed today's video as much as I loved researching and presenting it to you. This being my second video, I hope you can— oh, she's licking me. I hope you can see some improvement from my last video. But of course, if you have any comments or suggestions you'd like to make, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll get right to that. And obviously, if you have any cases you'd like to recommend, also leave those down here, because I need ideas. But I do have a little bit of an idea of what I want to do for my next one, but I'm not positive about that one yet. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Me and Reese say bye-bye! Bye-bye!